Hello there, I'm Randy Cross, and this is UnSafe Spaces. Welcome in here for Season 2, Episode 13. I've got a lot of our basic stuff, our Unsafe Spaces sports, our Wambulance, our feel-good stories, everything down the line. Got a guest this week I think you're really going to enjoy. Seems like I say that every week, but I think this case it may be something that will actually make you a little smarter. At least you'll learn something you didn't know. Did you know about a company called Sportify? It's a sports insurance for youth athletes, clubs and things like that, high school sports, to ensure scholarships going forward in the college world. It's an intriguing idea, and we'll talk to David Mace, the founder of Sportify. Check this out, a little bit of information. Some of these we'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Well, again, it'll be David Mace, the founder of Sportify Insurance, and he'll be with us in just a little bit. But first, a little commentary. And this will be related to the NFL draft. It's going to be in Dallas another week or so. It's a 3-day event these days. It's actually a 4 or 5-day event on site. It's grown. It's fantastic. This one will be at Jerry Jones's Mega Palace down there outside of Dallas. And it will be quite a show. And what we all concentrate on, though, is usually the first 10 or 12 picks, the first rounders. Well, Cleveland, as usual, and there's no mystery here, drafting is what I refer to as a swag, S-W-A-G. That's a sophisticated, wild-ass guess. And nobody guesses more and guesses more wrong than the Cleveland Browns over the last, decade, almost 2 decades now since their reiteration as an expansion franchise. Now, CBSSports.com did this top 10, so I'll give credit where credit is due. They've got Josh Allen, the quarterback from Wyoming, going number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. The second pick in the draft, the New York Giants, Bradley Chubb, excellent. There's no such thing as a can't miss. This kid as a pass rusher is pretty doggone close from North Carolina State. He's a relentless presence. Number 3, the New York Jets. And if this happened, I think Jet fans all over the New York area will lose their freaking mind if they draft a 6-foot quarterback in Baker Mayfield, the Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma. Could happen. CBSSports.com, this is their top 10, at least up to lately. A mock trade, something that happens all the time. There's always that one trade somewhere in the top 10 or that area that throws the entire draft sideways. In this case, it'd be the Buffalo Bills moving up from number 12 up to number 4. And that would be a shocker. Get Sam Darnold. They've identified them in this him as that draft as a guy they have to have. The best pure football player in this draft is Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame, the offensive lineman, and you have him here going to the Denver Broncos. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think they would be more likely to draft a quarterback, like, for instance, a Josh Rosen from UCLA. That is here, another mock trade. I love what CBSSports.com is doing here with all these mock trades. Will it be exactly like this? But yeah, could Rosen end up in Miami? That'd be a dream location for him, being an LA guy to go to Miami. Yeah, he'll take that. Derwin James, Florida State, DB. I like this matchup from Tampa Bay. Very short drive over from Tallahassee to Tampa, and he is that kind of a talent. One of my favorite defensive players in this draft is Roquan Smith. He is a heat-seeking missile as an inside linebacker. What an excellent inside-out, sideline-to-sideline pursuer. The Niners at number 9 go with Denzel Ward, a cornerback, which in their division now with guys like Russell Wilson, the LA Rams' new offense, the way it's been working, You got to be good at corner. You got to have pass rushers. You got to have corner. You got to inside defenders. And speaking of defensive backs, a safety, the second safety off the board, Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Oakland Raiders. So just remember some very important things about the draft. It's an inexact science, the swag idea, the sophisticated wild-ass guess, the coin flip idea. If you just get your quarter out, flip it. Should we take him? Your odds are exactly the same. In fact, your odds of guessing right on the coin flip might be better than teams' odds guessing on players. A couple of things are going to happen next week. There'll be teams that think they're smarter than everybody else, and they're going to make deals and take picks that are way off the board for other teams. That causes panic because then people that weren't supposed to be available are going to be available. That causes more trades. Teams will fall in like. Now, I didn't say that wrong. Not fall in love. They will fall in like. And that usually leads to them getting out of that spot. If you have a guy coming up or a pick coming up and you're not crazy about the guys that are available, you've fallen in like, you're very likely to trade out. The plus side of trading out of a spot higher is you get to build and layer in trade picks for the future. Not only the future in this draft, but the future down the road. Currently, as in a lot of things in the NFL, the best team at doing that are the New England Patriots, who always seem to be stockpiling draft picks constantly. Second round, third round, fourth round. It doesn't matter. They value draft picks highly for keeping themselves on top. That's the story of this game in the NFL. Let's be honest. The draft, fantastic marketing opportunity, fantastic. Is it that important? It's one of the important things of the offseason, but it gets more attention than anything else. Time now for the interview of the day, or the interview of the week here on the podcast. And we're going to be joined by David Mace, as I mentioned earlier, from Sportify Insurance. Let's roll the intro. Okay, as promised, we're joined by David Mace, the founder of Sportify Insurance. David, welcome.
Thank you, Randy. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's you've got an exciting company. Could you just sort of, give us about a 40,000 foot kind of flyover view of what Sportify is?
Perfect. And as we had discussed previously, Randy, it's basically our efforts as insurance professionals to bring the Lloyd's of London market, the specialized consortium of insurers in the UK, bring their capability to insure complex risks and bring that down to effectively the base of the pyramid of the tremendous amateur athlete market that we have in this country.
And how much of that, Dave, is reflective of how this whole athletic system has changed and kind of morphed over the course of the last probably 20 years? I think it was exemplified by basketball, which basically turned into the AAU model, and high school basketball became kind of almost like an afterthought. But it's really affected a lot of other sports for kids, mainly because, or I should say people under 18, mainly, because everyone is so focused on the pro side for a lot of the sports. Now, football is a little bit different, but it's really been a phenomenon over the last couple of decades.
You're absolutely right, Randy, in that we have a partnership with a company that is involved in player development camps, again, at that high school amateur level. And we were in discussions with them where we were trying to calculate or estimate the size of the amateur athlete industry in this country. And it is in the several tens of billions of dollars, billions with a B, in terms of value. And as you've mentioned, yes, that progression has come at a torrid pace in the last 2 decades, where nowhere else on this planet do we have the amateur athlete industry that we have in this country. Every service, every good in terms of a widget, but every service in terms of training, advice, counseling, recruitment service, all of those are as professional as they can be in terms of the quality, sometimes in terms of the cost. But if you look at the risk perspective, up until now, there really hasn't been a robust policy to protect these young athletes in the event they become disabled, either from sports participation accident or from a named illness, what we deem as a critical illness. There is no protection for them to continue progressing to that next level and be able to finance their college education.
How my first question, the more I looked into Sportify, was, when we have the club system, and let's use basketball for an example.
Sure.
There is a payoff at 19 to 20 years old for the elite athletes. They're going to go to the NBA. They're going to play basketball. That finite percentage that do that, they may go one and done, where they go to college for 1 year, but there is a cash payoff for a small percentage of those guys. Now, on the other sports, it's got to be a lot harder to figure out because of the unbelievable amount of numbers involved. Not only, everyone talks about, FBS, major college football. And there are 3 or 4 different layers of college football that kids have an opportunity to get a scholarship to go play sports as football, as an example.
That's right. And there's several layers, as you mentioned, of scholarships available in all those different schools and all those different sports. And as you mentioned, basketball, when you look at let's say the more non-high revenue generating sports like a soccer or a volleyball at a major university or even at a Division II school, as we've discussed, the end game, and as you said, and the payout is a scholarship, the proverbial full ride. And when we talk about how professional this market, where we're still dealing with amateurs, is, the parents are making a tremendous investment because as college education gets more expensive, the competition for free education is more fierce.
Yeah, I mean, David, you could be talking about potentially 5 years at a school, which some kids do that scholarship-wise. That could be $350,000.
Exactly. And now, and let's even look before you even get to college, while you're still in high school, that is your insurable interest. Because now that you're a top athlete and you have demonstrated that you have interest from a school to recruit you as a scholar athlete, you now have that tremendous risk exposure that if something happens to you before you even get to college, you have tremendous financial risk as an athlete, but also as a parent who is continuing to invest, who is continuing to collaborate in your development as an athlete, and therefore achieving the ultimate goal of the full ride or college education under a scholarship.
Yeah. So is it all predicated on, this may be too simplistic, but, let's say my son played college football. He played at Wake Forest and UCLA. He was a scholarship athlete. And he received offers when he was in high school from quite a few schools. If you're going through this process, is that part of the, I guess, the prerequisite that has to be had from the other side, from the insurance side? They have to have the letters of intent or the offer letters in order to quantify how much this insurance actually is for?
Yes, that's spot on. And what you've mentioned there, those are what they call the eligibility criteria. So it's your eligibility to apply for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And we effectively have 5 of them, and they're logical from what you've mentioned, in that if you can demonstrate you've received some sort of written or social media communication from a university where they're university or college where they're expressing their interest in recruiting you as a scholar athlete. Number 2, and we go back again to the professionalism of this industry. Number 2 is you've elected to attend, or you've been selected to attend, a college recruitment camp or a showcase event. Number 3 is that you are recognized in the national media outlet and you are ranked as a scholar athlete. And again, where we talk about professionalism of this industry, you can go now online and pretty much search any athlete who is ranked, let's say on a major sports website, or on a recruitment website. You can actually see all the offers or all the verbal commitments that those athletes have currently registered. Then the proverbial signature of the NLI, the National Letter of Intent,
Mm-hmm.
or the receipt of a scholarship offer. Those are all the eligibility criteria. But let's, again, before we even get to the NLI stage, all those other eligibility criteria we discussed, we know full well, they're still non-binding. But then that's where you have the most risk as a student athlete, right? When before you're even to the NLI stage, you have to compete. You have to compete even harder now, because now that you're on the radar, now that the pressure is on because you're nationally recognized in a website or you're getting all this interest from school, competition's going to get even tougher.
Well, it's amazing. And people can go to sportifyinsurance.com, just sort of in general, to check out your company.
That's correct. Exactly. Those 2 words. And it's Sportify with the word sport, and the word insurance spelled out. And then they can actually view the eligibility criteria that we discussed, and then take a look at the coverage summary. And also what's important is looking at the exclusions as well.
Where, when you talk about the exclusions, and obviously, if you do something as an athlete, student athlete, against the law, against the rules, whatever, which jeopardizes your scholarship, you're going to have an issue. But how about from the other side? Because what people don't understand enough is, a full ride, quote unquote, which 4 to 5 years, you have 5 years to get your 4 years of eligibility in. But athletic scholarships are basically a series of 1-year grants and scholarships. How does that figure into the process? Because it's not unusual. We see it predominantly in football, which is one of the cash, the money sports. You see it some in basketball and some of the other sports, but they run players off that, don't prove to be as good as maybe they had originally thought, or, maybe just between school and other factors aren't part of the program. At least they don't want them to be part of the program. How does that factor into the insurance?
Yes, Randy, and from once you're at the college level, our policy is designed to be able to allow you to continue financing education in the event of permanent disability. You have to withdraw from the team, or let's say the scholarship is certainly rescinded because of your injury or your illness.
Okay.
So, and as you said, if you, and this is where insurance it's very black and white, and it's almost cruel in a sense that if you're a non-performer, well, you can't buy insurance for that. If you're a non-performer, the insurance doesn't apply.
Okay.
However, if you're a performer and you have an occurrence that no one can control, and that's basically how accidents happen, right? Or how illnesses manifest themselves, That is the spirit, and that is the intent of the coverage.
Okay.
And as you've mentioned, with regard to certain exclusions, if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, as you said, breaking the law or under the influence, or if your accident or your illness is provoked or it occurs because of your use of prohibited substances, and substances again that are banned by your athletic governing body. Those are things that are going to be typically excluded in any policy, and they certainly are here as well. Also, one of the things that, talking about the pragmatism of insurance, we are a special contingency disability program. So unfortunately, it's not a life insurance policy either. So in the unfortunate event of death, there's no coverage. Why?
Well,
because
a scholarship's the least of your problems.
Exactly. Yes. And again, you hate to say that, and you hate to point that out. Yeah. But that's the nature. Again, that's to reiterate the nature of the coverage.
Yeah.
And the full intent is to allow you to continue to get your education. Because as you said, Randy, and you can attest to this, being a successful professional athlete, it gets harder from once you're at the NCAA, it's hard enough. And then you're looking at the 1% of the 1% once you get into the professional ranks, right?
Yeah. Now,
so a lot of things can happen.
If I'm a parent out there right now and I'm listening to this, one of the things that's going to come to mind is cost. Is it comparable to the cost that some parents are putting out there from a training standpoint? I mean, that was one of my first educations to high school athletics or getting into high school was kids have trainers. And I was like,
yes.
What do you mean? Don't they have strength coaches? But no, you have to have a trainer. How comparable is the insurance to that sort of a situation?
It is. That's a very good question. And before I address that, let me quickly backtrack and mention that the sports are all ranked. We cover 16 sports, and they are ranked in terms of their risk rating. Unfortunately, football is the highest rated sport. So that's going to give you the highest premium, the highest cost per individual policy, and then depending on the limit of insurance that you purchase. The non-contact sports, logically, they're going to be the lowest rated risk and therefore have the lowest cost. But when you take the entire spectrum, as you said, the annual premium of this policy, when you annualize all of the monthly payments that parents make nowadays, as you said, in trainers, there's parents that even pay nutritional specialists
for
their student athletes.
Yeah.
So when you lump all that up, it is comparable. Obviously, it's an additional expense, but it's comparable to you continuing on a pro rata basis, let's say, continuing that expense that you are already making for your child.
So this is insurance too, that everyone sort of knows the brand name of Lloyd's of London, who have been the sort of the gold standard, insurance wise, heck, forever, hundreds of years. They used to indemnify the shipping companies when they had sales.
Randy, that's fantastic. You mentioned that because you're looking at 1600s back then, and Mr. Edward Lloyd started a coffee shop where eventually his customers gathered around, and they were investing in the safe passage of the ships from the British colonies back to the homeland, if you will. And you're right. That's exactly how the insurance market got started.
Wow, it's a fascinating subject, and congratulations. This is a great deal. This needs to be in front of more parents. I'll be honest with you, because I don't know how many people, not enough people, know that this is available.
And it's certainly one of the challenges as we get started with our rollout. We as professionals in our agency and in our respective roles, the group of partners, we have decades of experience in insurance, and the fact that Lloyd's certain underwriters at Lloyd's decided to back this product is indicative of the relationships that we have been able to establish. As you said, Lloyd's getting started in a coffee house several hundred years ago, and continuing to evolve in terms of how complex we are as human beings. So if you take that very, very simple, basic principle of our human evolution, we have risk that evolves along with us, and therefore we need protection to also evolve along with the risk that we bear for us to continue progressing as a society.
So just a matter of who you share that risk with, right?
Exactly. And then how smart we are. So on the Sportify end, we have the trust and the backing from Lloyd's, and then they say, okay, well, you package it and you take it to market. And that's effectively how most of these relationships work with the Lloyd's underwriter and those that help us support the structure of this program in the Lloyd's market, and then how we take it into the respected geographic locations like the United States in this case.
That's fantastic.
And again, as you think, what a tremendous country that we have. And with everything that's going on nowadays with current events and geopolitics and so forth, if we look at our country, nowhere else in the planet do we have such a competitive, such a fierce, yet I want to say even such a beautiful and attractive industry of sports. And we can hopefully say that yeah, right. And that is the last, hopefully we can say that is the last bastion where we all come together as a collective and progressive society, is with sports.
That's great. Hey, David, thank you so much for joining me. Good luck to you and Sportify going forward. What a fantastic concept.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to talk with you, albeit by remotely, but it's a pleasure to be with you and be able to talk just briefly about what we're trying to accomplish and contribute, again, in this continuous development of our amateur athlete industry. And it's our amateur athlete industry, as a last minute plug I want to get in, that it's an amateur athlete industry that is important in the sense that it also helps develop females. And when we're talking about end games, right, the professional ranks, we know they're more predominantly benefiting male athletes. So when you look at college education and then athletic scholarship in college for females, that is the ticket, right? It's because they're probably not going to progress to be financially successful as a professional athlete. They're going to be financially successful as a professional entrepreneur, an executive, a doctor, a lawyer, an attorney. Right. And that, again, is at the essence of what we're trying to protect. That's
great. David, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye now. Yeah, David Mace and Sportify. Check it out, SportifyInsurance.com. Sportify, SPORTIFY, insurance.com. Thanks again to David Mace from Sportify Insurance. You want to check it out. It's Sportify, SPORTIFY, insurance.com. Its time has come, and if you've got kids involved in youth sports and club sports and team sports, it's worth your while to know all that's entailed when it comes to being a scholar athlete. Great stuff. All right, let's go right now into a little Unsafe Spaces sports. And not a bad week in sports. Not, there was no Masters, but you got to be honest, there's some pretty dang entertaining stuff going on right now. And yes, the Winter Slam 2018 in Major League Baseball. How crazy has that been? It's fun to watch, but of the week, in about 38-degree weather, again in Chicago, the Cubs and the Braves played an amazing game. Now, it's Detroit. I expect to get kind of cold in Detroit, don't you? We got snow showers. It's New York. You're going to have some problems. But with all the bad weather that happened in all the strange places, the Atlanta Braves, in a place that you expect it's pretty warm, played a game against the Chicago Cubs. And it was cold. It was 38 degrees. It was not nice. And the Braves built a big lead, but they somehow managed to screw that up. Now, it wasn't Super Bowl 28-3 kind of bad, but you can see it from there. Check this out.
That's going to stay fair.
10-5.
Suzuki will throw late. It's 10-6.
He scores. He's safe.
He walked in.
There you go. Another one. 10-7.
There's a base hit. At least two will score.
To the wall.
That gets by.
I hate when that happens.
And Schwarber caught between home and third. Suzuki will fire to second. He throws it into center. Throw to the plate. Not in time. It hits Schwarber.
Look at that. I mean, it's like a ticker. I think it keeps running up.
9 runs here in this inning.
Wow, Javi, how do you put this game, this comeback into words?
Oh, it's going to be one of the best of the year.
Yeah, it was, unless you're an Atlanta Brave or Atlanta Brave fan, it was pretty doggone amazing. It was fun to see. Hey, next up on the baseball side, how about those Washington Nationals, huh? We're talking about the Braves. They're in the National League East. Well, they had something happen. Now, Bryce Harper is going to be a free agent. He's going to make a lot of money. He also happens to be one of the most talented players in the league. How talented is he? Check out this video. 408-foot home run, and watch how he did it.
Approach it here.
You go after him. Absolutely.
And he breaks his bat, flies it to pretty deep right center. Nibble back near the wall, and it's out of here. Broken bat home run for
Snaps the bat
to put the
in
Nationals
half.
in front.
But the ball still goes
Well,
408
that's
feet.
shocking. Bat snapped in two, and Harper hit it 390 feet.
I
to
say
right
he's got
center
pretty good
for his 8th home run
power.
of the year.
Oh,
And
the
it's
390 if
1-0
it hit the
Washington.
wall, it'd be 390, but it went past the wall. Wow, that's something to see, and not that surprising for a guy like that. Though I have a hard time rooting for him because I'm not a big fan for a lot of reasons. Hey, the California Angels signed a player, Shohei Ohtani, who is a two-way player. Now, when I say two-way, people know what that is. You play offense and defense, right? In football. Well, in baseball, he is a pitcher and a batter. And I don't mean a batter like he can hit singles. I mean a batter like this guy can drill the ball. Let's take a look at an example of how he can hit the ball from his days like last year or so back in Japan as a pro. Watch where this ball goes, if you can. But look at all those people. No one has any idea where the ball is. None. Now the umpires are signaling home run, and they're going to do a little video review. But he hits it high. He hits it far. And watch it. Into the panel. No, it's not. It can't. Oops. Yeah. It goes through the roof. Oh, that is some great stuff. Through the roof. out onto the road or wherever the heck it ended up. Fun stuff, but that's part of the Winter Slam for Major League Baseball. Tony actually got a little blister on his finger, went 3 innings yesterday, didn't pitch so well, but he's batting the ball pretty well. All right, that'll do it for Major League Baseball. Now let's head into the NBA playoffs. How about that? Well, no, I can't say how exciting. NBA playoffs are about the most anticlimactic stuff. Yeah, I mean, you got your players, you got your LeBrons, and you got all the rest of the stars. You got the Hardens, they're out there. You got the Warriors and Curry and the rest of them. Yeah, sure, it's great to see Simmons and Embiid and Philly and the new faces, but cut the crap. Let's just cut to the chase. This is what we're going to be seeing again. It's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors. Let's move it along. It's going to take another month or so, but let's move it along. Let's get back to the series that we really want to see, okay? Good? We all right? All right, fantastic. Hey, Jim Harbaugh on the University of Michigan had a little something happen. Had a disgruntled athlete, a linebacker, and that last little headline said appears to threaten. No, he threatened him. He didn't back off too much. Now, when this story first broke, they made it sound like this gentleman was still at the University of Michigan, and this was an ongoing thing between he and Harbaugh. Well, it turns out, as these tweets were followed, they figured out he hasn't really been on the roster since last November. And as we talked to David Mace about scholarships being rescindable due to certain actions and whatnot, or sometimes lack of talent, he's no longer a football player at the University of Michigan. And you just read along here with some of these tweets. It's not real gray. Those are basically threats. And not a very smart move. I got to be honest in that. We'll see. But if I was Jim Harbaugh, I would have people starting my car for me, and I would have security at all times, because I think somebody's a bit miffed about not being there at Michigan on scholarship any longer. And here's the police. Okay, yeah, University of I like it. We'll not go into detail on those threats, an ongoing investigation. Read the tweets. What do you mean go into detail? You don't go into detail. And that's Jim Harbaugh's Alfred E. Newman. What me? Worry? Yeah, I'd worry a little bit. I would worry a little bit. All right, that'll do it for Unsafe Spaces Sports. Let's move on to formerly Butthurt, but now the Wambulance. We made you aware of this story because back last year, this was also going to happen. But Monday, April 23rd, is the end of the world. Yeah, I mean, book it. Take out your loans. What was Steve Buscemi in the movie Armageddon? Taking the loans from the loan shark, the bookie, the crime guy at the unbelievable interest rates. Yeah, sure, I'm going to pay it back. No problem. Just, Monday's the end of the world, so book it. There's Planet X or Planet Nibiru, whatever you want to call it. It's coming. There'll be earthquakes. There'll be tidal waves. It'll cause the crust of the earth to shift dramatically. End of life as we know it, all that. So let's see. It's the 18th today. So you got about 5 days. It's coming. And you can thank this guy for the heads up, because whether you noticed or not lately, there is an extra planet and kind of a sun-like thing in the air. And who would ever notice an extra gigantic planet in our universe, it all just sort of blends together up there, I guess. Man.
The self-proclaimed researcher David Mead now says doomsday will be April 23rd. Like his previous predictions, Mead claims the mysterious rogue planet called Planet X is on a collision course with Earth, which will bring world-ending tsunamis and earthquakes. The self-published author says biblical codes he's deciphered suggest that Earth's destruction is imminent. But NASA has maintained throughout the Mead talk that it's impossible for a planet to just sneak up on Earth. Matt Yurus for CBS 11 News.
Yeah, there's that. There's a scene you don't want to see. But yeah, it's planets don't sneak up on stuff. But I guess the whole theory for those that are in that kind of like black helicopter world is that the government hides these facts and that the average citizen isn't told about that planet that's sneaking up on your solar system. Mark it down, April 23rd. I think it's later in the day, so if you have a morning tea time, you ought to get the whole round in. April 23rd, Armageddon, end of the world. Book it. You're welcome. Hey, let's move on now to Feel Good Story of the Week. Well, this particular Feel Good Story of the Week, from my perspective, kind of made me proud. My old team, the San Francisco 49ers, have been in the news over the last few years for probably not the greatest reasons, at least in my opinion. And they've had, even lately, with the Reuben Foster situation, domestic violence cases, Aldon Smith. He has started out at the Niners and has burned out as a Raider. It hasn't been a lot of real great positive news. But now on the football field, they're getting better and better. And next year will be a great year for the Niners. Book it. But off the field, they're doing some pretty damn good work too. Check out this story about the Niners and an Air Force veteran by the name of Rob Thomas.
All right, so this is a special day. Currently driving to San Francisco airport, about to pick up a very special guy. He's a tech sergeant, Mr. Rob Thomas. Now, I've never did one of these things before, but you know, you see on the football games where you have a soldier come back and surprise their family on the football field. That's what we about to do today. We actually gonna have the family walk around. They think they're going on a special tour. We're gonna have some teammates of mine actually showing the family around.
Bro? Oh, yes. Oh, man. Took me forever. You doing all right? No, thank you, man. I'm glad you was able to make it. I'll just jump in right beside him.
1, 2, 3.
All right, you ready? Throw it to me. Throw it to me. I'll throw it to your brother. That's cool. Oh, good throw.
Hey, how you gonna do? Come on in. Let's show you guys the weight room.
Family coming, so we gotta get ready. Let's go, baby. Stop looking back, boy. Stop looking up. There you go. Listen up. That's money. There you go. That's money. That's money. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Ah. Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah.
I missed y'all so much. You know that? You surprised? Oh my goodness. She's all embarrassed.
This was my first deployment with my family. Just getting set up, it wasn't for me. It was me to get you recognized, sacrificing what you made. We don't have family around up north, so she had to do it all by herself. The kids, getting to baseball practice, gymnastics, plus she's a full-time student. She's graduating. next month, and she's my rock. So this is for you. Can't do.
Tell me that doesn't make you smile. Well, congratulations to the Thomas family. Dakota Watson, linebacker for the Niners. Well done. Good job there on the video. And from Jed York to John Lynch to Kyle Shanahan, that entire organization, well played. And this is the kind of feel-good story I love to tell you. Hey, that'll do it for episode 13, season 2 of UnSafe Spaces. I'm Randy Cross. And where do you find this podcast? Well, you can get it on YouTube. You can get it on Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, Facebook, everywhere. You can get it at unsafespaces.com. You can get it at randycross.com. And if you have any notes, any thoughts, any suggestions, send it to producer at unsafespacesusa.com. All right? And spread this thing. Show it to friends. Feel free. Let's get it in front of as many people as possible. All right? Time now to blow up a few stadiums and say happy trails.
Happy trails.